Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can get yourself a nice water filter at betterwater.com. You can listen to the show wherever you go on iHeartRadio or TuneIn. You can watch the show, Super Talk TV, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And we are entering day 3 of the Trump administration, and it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Couple red flags. We'll discuss. But day 2, let's just recap what happened on day 2, okay? Merit-based hiring is back at the FAA. Obama-era push to put a lot of affirmative action, DEI hires in the FAA. That is done. You've noticed, we've all noticed how the airports have degraded over the last at least 4 years especially. That's gone. Yesterday, Donald Trump ordered the closure of all federal DEI offices by 5 o'clock today. Existing employees are going to be placed on paid leave as they figure out how to fire them, which is fantastic. They even ordered them to take down all social media and outward-facing media immediately. Love it. He ordered the repeal of LBJ's Executive Order 11246, which mandated affirmative action rather than merit-based hiring. Prohibited the use of all racial discrimination or DEI at federal contractors and universities receiving taxpayer dollars. He ordered the federal buildings worldwide to stop flying the pride flag. Thank you. We can fly one flag, and it's the American flag, and we have a lot of pride for that flag. So that's going to stop. And we had seen those flags everywhere on embassies and just absolute insanity. We also launched the Stargate project yesterday. That's going to be something that we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth. It is, I'm torn on it. It's a big investment into the country, but I don't really like what the investment says. We'll get into that. I'm a bit of trusting the science out, for the record. But we also saw Donald Trump unleash ICE with full authority to go after criminals that Joe Biden allowed into this country. Thank you. There was an arrest report yesterday of 308, I believe, was the tally that I last saw. 308 illegal aliens are gone. Fantastic. It's a good start. And he granted a full pardon to Ross Ulbricht, who was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years for having the audacity to make an online marketplace called the Silk Road, where people could trade anonymously. They treated him like a drug dealer and a human trafficker, even though Ross was neither. This was a promise that Donald Trump had made at the Libertarian National Convention. If you remember that, this is the first time a conservative had gone to the Libertarian National Convention. Donald Trump made the promise to that crowd that if he was elected, he would pardon Ross Ulbricht, which is fantastic. It needed to happen. He was overpunished, and something had to change. Donald Trump corrected that mistake yesterday. Funny, though, if you go into the details on Ross Ulbricht, he had a lot of Bitcoin taken from him. A lot. When he was arrested and the feds crashed down on the Silk Road. And that Bitcoin today, so he had the DOJ seized 173,991 Bitcoin directly from Ross Ulbricht. Okay? That Bitcoin current value is $18.4 billion. Are they going to pay him back? You think they're probably not. Probably not. But Ross is out, and that's fantastic. And I'm excited that Trump is making these promises, and he's following through on these promises. So it was last night. He issued a full and unconditional pardon for Ross Ulbricht, the founder of online marketplace Silk Road. He was serving a life sentence after a conviction over the use of the platform because online drug dealers were using it to conduct drug sales via Bitcoin. Trump promised to pardon Ross, who was arrested in 2013, and he did so yesterday. Posting on True Social, I just called the mother of Ross William Ulbricht. To let her know that in honor of her and the libertarian movement, which supported me so strongly, it was my pleasure to have just signed a full and unconditional pardon of her son, Ross. The scum that worked to convict me were some of the same lunatics who were involved in convicting him in the modern weaponization of government against Trump. He was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Ridiculous. Promises made, promises kept. But again, I wonder what's going to happen with that Bitcoin that was seized. 173,991 Bitcoin were seized from Ross in 2013. The current value, $18.4 billion. That's wild. That is absolutely wild. Not as crazy as what happened yesterday. Well, actually, I don't know. Is it crazier than what happened at the church yesterday with Donald Trump? The value of the Bitcoin. Did you see the woke preacher, the woke bishop with Donald Trump yesterday?
I heard some of the audio clips from it. I didn't hear the full sermon, though.
Okay, well, the sermon was something else. And listen, I just want to say the amount of grace and calm that they had, I don't know if I would have had the same amount. It was Trump, Melania, JD, and Usha, and they're all sitting there, and every single one of them have a look of what the hell is going on. And when you hear what happened at that church service, you'll understand why.
And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
I would make the point that that's because of their insane parents. Let's be perfectly honest. While conservatives don't agree with the transing of kids, there's absolutely no reason for these kids to feel unsafe. It's just not happening. You know, I remember during the election, CNN had a panel of transgender kids, and there's this young kid, couldn't have been more than 7 years old, saying, "I'm afraid that I'm going to get murdered." And I'm thinking to myself, who's putting that idea in your head? Well, it's your insane lunatic parents is who's putting that idea in your head, along with all the other ideas, I'd imagine. And this preacher, bishop, she's dressing down Trump in front of everyone, trying to make a point, going full politics on him.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
I mean, technically they are if they got into the country illegally. Like 100%. Also, isn't this kind of like, remember, was it Meghan McCain on The View? And she's like, if we get rid of all the illegal aliens, who's going to clean our toilets? It's like, aren't you the party that's like, come on, guys, don't be mean, right? It seems a little bit out of place.
They pay taxes.
Do they?
And are good neighbors.
Except if they're members of Tren de Aragua and they're, you know, extorting you to live in an apartment complex in Colorado. It's only a handful of apartment complexes.
They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
You know, she left out the people in North Carolina who have been devastated by the hurricane. She didn't mention the American citizens that are dealing with wildfires in Los Angeles. She didn't mention Lake and Riley's family. She didn't mention Jocelyn Nungari's family. She didn't mention Rachel Marin's family. Please have compassion for everyone except for American citizens, Mr. President. Please, for the love of God, will you think of everyone else except for American citizens first? Okay. No. Hard pass. I'll be honest with you. It would have been a huge red flag to me walking in there, seeing a lady being up there to go do the thing. You know, you kind of know you're walking into a woke scenario when that's the case, and that would have been a huge red flag. I believe that this was the inaugural committee that set this up, and the head of the inaugural committee is Amy Klobuchar, so she's probably chuckling. She got him. But the bishop who spoke at that national prayer service, she's been a woke radical leftist for a long time. During the Summer of Love in 2020, she was saying that we need to replace President Trump.
Why did you want to come out here and send
Their message, it is a message of a call for justice, for swift justice for George Floyd, for systemic justice for all brown and black people who have been under the knee of this country in ways that we have witnessed time and again. This is wrong. And this rising up, this spontaneous uprising of people, mostly half my age or younger, they're the ones we should be listening to.
And it's funny. She said it was a spontaneous uprising. It was spontaneous, the George Floyd, the uprising. It was spontaneous. And those pallets of bricks were dropped off by the brick ferry on the corners of streets. If you leave some money under a streetlight, the brick ferry will visit, and it will spontaneously appear.
And don't forget the frozen bottles of water.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, it's spontaneous.
Yeah.
You can't stop that.
Angry at the president.
They're so angry.
They're angry at the president. So what is your message to President Trump today?
Well, I've given up speaking to President Trump. We need to replace President Trump.
Yeah, that's who they thought would be a good person to lead the National Prayer Breakfast. Listen, to his credit, Trump, he didn't look exactly thrilled with the message, but he sat through it. I can't say that I wouldn't have sat through that. I would have stood up and walked out relatively quickly, and he didn't. He didn't. And then when he was asked about it by reporters, he wasn't harsh with the tongue. He wasn't rude or mean, and reporters wanted to know what he thought about it.
Mr. President, what did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the sermon?
What did you think? You like it? Find it exciting?
I love that. What did you think? Did you like it? What was it exciting? Were you excited by that sermon?
Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no.
It wasn't too exciting. I didn't think it was a good sermon. I mean, again, he could have gone a lot harder. He could have. He didn't. Very reserved. We're witnessing a much calmer Trump, I think. He's calculated right now. He's got work to do. Trump has been at work. Alina Habba saying transparency is back. And by 5 o'clock today, the Office for Personnel Management says that the DEIA offices are being closed and the employees placed on administrative leave effective immediately as the agency takes steps to close and end all of the DEIA initiatives, offices, and programs. In 2 days, we've seen Donald Trump do more than some presidents have accomplished in their entire term. Not just Joe Biden, but a lot of presidents, let's be honest. Trump is at work. We'll talk about it when we return. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And shout out to the guys at Busy Bee one more time for sponsoring that trip for Brian Wilson to go out to D.C. to cover the inauguration. The guys at Busy Bee are fantastic. And if you need a HVAC replacement or repair, call the guys that support freedom. Call the guys that are unafraid. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner. And they got some great deals for you. How about a free furnace checkup with any heating repair service? Or 15% off indoor air quality products, or a complimentary smart thermostat with any HVAC replacement. Then you can control your comfort from anywhere. These are just some of the deals that Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling have going on right now. How about air duct cleaning? Have you cleaned your air ducts in a while? You probably should. And with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling all month long, you buy that middle package, they'll upgrade you to the premium package for free. Those are just some of the deals that you get with your Rude Pro partner, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Call them today, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybeehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days, No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
We know more now about the teens that rammed their car into a gun shop in Franklin. Wait till you hear how old these kids were. And the streaming service that's just upped their subscription price. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I hate it when they up these subscription price. I'm over it.
Doesn't it feel like we're paying cable prices all over again?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I cut the cord like a decade ago
Yeah.
to stop doing that. And here we are. Well, it's a pirate's life for me, I guess. It's 9:27 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. I was hanging out with those guys yesterday. Great guys. Call Brandy, call Craig, betterwater.com. Get yourself a water filter. So Donald Trump is back at work. Alina Habba saying what we all know. Transparency is back in the White House. And she's right. She's right. You know, we get it right from Donald Trump now. We don't get it through advisors or statements, and we actually can ask him questions. You know, when he's signing those executive orders, he's answering questions from the press the entire time. Transparency is back.
Will the president commit, Alina, to doing press conferences every week, every 2 weeks to continue what he says is going to be the most transparent administration? It seems like it's no problem for him.
First of all, he doesn't need to commit it. I think he's shown everybody today, yesterday, the minute that he was sworn in, he got to work. Actually, we've been working since he was elected on November 5th. But there's nobody that speaks better about the president's thoughts, policies, and reactions better than President Donald Trump himself. And that's the truth of it. We can all spin, we can do whatever, but we finally have a president, Laura, and we have somebody who's not afraid to answer tough questions himself directly from the boss's mouth. And it's just been tremendous being there, seeing how hard everybody's working, these EOs that have been coming out, really reversing the damage that's been done and putting important things first, America first, frankly. It's just been great. Yeah, he's going to be doing this a lot. It's President Trump's way. It's his words. You don't have to hear it from anybody else.
Don't have to hear it from anybody else. This is the truth. You can hear it straight from Trump. And I love the transparency. I think that's very, very important. But one of the things I also think is really important that I think has been underrated is I think Trump is actually going to listen to us a lot. And when there's big flubs like the deputy of education, Penny Schwinn, being appointed, and, you know, Tim Burchett says he's going to go talk to Trump about it. And I think Trump will listen. And with this new cancer moonshot, right? Wasn't that what Joe Biden was essentially calling it? The cancer moonshot, this new mRNA vaccine. I think that they're going to get the note from a lot of people. There was a big announcement yesterday of this Stargate, a new American company that's investing $500 billion in AI infrastructure in the United States. And that sounds all well and good until you hear the Oracle CEO's remarks about cancer vaccines. And I was like, come on, man. Stop. Please stop. I'm done. I'm done with the trusting the science. And I have a lot of thoughts about this cancer vaccine. We'll cover it when we return right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Police in Franklin releasing surveillance video showing a group of teenagers ramming their car repeatedly into the shop window at the Arms and Ammo store on Beasley Drive in the early morning hours of Monday. They were hoping to get their hands on the guns and ammo inside. However, they weren't successful. Later, however, they were spotted and arrested. Now, police say the 5 teens ranged in age between 13 and 15 years old.
It is concerning. I mean, only they endanger themselves, but other people driving on the roads. Again, I wonder where the parents are at that time. These kids are our future. Of course, it's concerning.
The teens are facing charges today. The gun shop has reopened. There's news this morning that the State Department has canceled the scheduled flights of refugees from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. These are foreigners who were scheduled to come to the U.S. under a Biden-era program that brought hundreds of thousands of refugees to the U.S. on airplanes. Now, according to an order from President Trump, no new travel bookings will be made, and processing for these refugees has been canceled. Like your Netflix? Well, better get ready to pay more.
Netflix announcing another round of price hikes. The ad-supported tier will now cost $7.99 a month, up from $6.99. The standard ad-free tier will go from $15.49 to $17.99 per month. And the cost of the premium tier is increasing by $2 to $24.99. The price hike comes even though Netflix just saw its biggest ever quarterly jump in subscribers. Fresh off the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul boxing match in November, which drew 108 million viewers.
ABC's Rhiannon Alley reporting in 2011, Netflix cost $8 a month. The subscription has been raised 5 times since then. That's the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
That's Donald Trump yesterday announcing a new American company, Stargate. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water, LLC. Stargate, $500 billion in investment for AI infrastructure in the United States. I'm so torn on this one, guys. Like, I love the fact that we're having investing in America again, that people have the optimism to invest in America again, but I hate AI. And then the other side of me says, well, but if we don't do it in America, then other countries are going to do it. So let's at least be on the forefront of that, right? I'm torn, and I want to know what you think about it. 615-737-9986. But Trump seems very, very excited about what they're going to do and the infrastructure that they're going to build.
Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI, and this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures. I was in the real estate business. These buildings, these are big, beautiful buildings. They're going to employ a lot of people. And physical campuses in locations currently being scouted nationwide. They're making their choices of locations. I think they have their choice.
So it's going to trickle down, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of jobs created when you're building these data centers. And again, I like the fact that we're creating private sector jobs and not federal government jobs. But the AI stuff is just meh. Not a huge fan. And then Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, he's very excited about this, and he's very excited about Oracle being a part of this Stargate venture. And the more I hear Larry Ellison talk, the less I like him. And he went a step further and said that this was going to be an advancement in medicine. It's not just going to be AI. This is going to revolutionize medicine. And he said that the AI technology will soon be able to develop personalized mRNA cancer vaccines. And I immediately went, okay, I've seen this movie before. I Am Legend. Remember I Am Legend? Everybody turned into zombies. That was a cancer vaccine. Also, how effective have mRNA vaccines been so far? Just asking for a friend. But CEO Larry Ellison, Oracle CEO, says, get ready. Get ready. The future's here.
Once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
A cancer vaccine specifically for you within 48 hours via the mRNA technology that couldn't stop the spread or it couldn't stop you from getting or transmitting COVID. That technology. Do you trust it? 615-737-9986. I have a hard time buying into it. I'm not going to lie to you. And there are doctors all over Twitter, all over X that are weighing in on this. William Mackey's said the mRNA cancer vaccine doesn't work. I've looked at the early results. They have to combine mRNA cancer vaccines with traditional cancer treatments to show any kind of response. And even then, it's abysmal. It's a failed technology, but they're not willing to let it go. And then when you start thinking about what the implications of this could be, like, okay, what happens if you go to the doctor for a blood test and they say you got an early detection of cancer? And then your insurance provider says, well, if you're not going to take the cancer vaccine, we're not going to pay for your treatments. It's not a bridge too far. These are real implications that could happen. But this guy thinks that we're going to revolutionize medicine with it. He thinks that everything is going to change. And he doubled down on it after the press conference with Trump outside the White House talking with Brett Baer on Fox News.
Larry, you talked about what can come out of this as far as healthcare and other things. People are starting to get their head around AI, but not fully.
Well, when you go to the hospital these days, if you're using a modern system, using a modern system, the doctor will get a little note written by AI describing what the purpose of the appointment, and then that note will have your latest lab tests and your so the doctor's prepared when they meet with the patient.
So is he saying that doctors aren't prepared when they meet with the patient now? Like, don't we already have systems like this? How is AI actually going to improve this? Let's be honest.
The AI will actually listen to the conversation between the doctor and the patient.
What could go wrong?
And make recommendations and improve the likelihood that the patient's going to get a high quality of care. It's easier for the doctor. It's better outcomes for the patient. It's really a revolution in medicine. But it's a revolution in many other industries as well. Medicine just touches us all.
Nothing that he described, though, seems very revolutionary whatsoever in that clip. The doctor's going to know why you're there. Oh, okay. They're going to have a note, and they're going to be able to see your recent lab tests. Oh, I didn't realize that was a problem before. He also says, have you ever been to a hospital? Have you been to a hospital recently? I'm thinking to myself, I have, and all of the digital stuff actually gets hacked all the time, and we have multiple examples of that happening in Nashville. I think we need to go the other direction, actually, and get back to pen and paper, so that way we're not dependent on the technology as badly as we are currently. You got young nurses getting into hospitals, and I'm sure there are healthcare workers that are listening that can co-sign this, that when the hospital's hacked and taken down, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go to get the medicine, what medicine to do. They're lost. They're deer in the headlights. And you want to complicate that with AI? You're going to tell us it's going to make it easier. And I just see headaches in the future. Stacy is on the road. She wants to talk about the new Stargate venture. What's up, Stacy? Hey, Stacy, what's up?
Are you talking to Cindy?
Cindy, what's up, Cindy? That was
okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure. I do not like AI at all. I wish it didn't exist, but the cat's out of the bag, and I don't think there's any way to put it back in. It greatly increases the use of electricity, from what I understand. And again, like you, I just don't care for it. I think it's great that we're going to have 100,000 new jobs created. The investment in America is terrific, but I wish it wasn't this way.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm torn on it. I appreciate the call, Stacy. I'm torn on it because I want the America to be able to have that investment and be on the forefront of it. The thing is that if we don't do it, somebody else will. But I don't like all the implications of what could come of this. It seems awful. I think we need to get back to paper charting. I do. They can tell us it's going to revolutionize everything, but it gives me pause. Elon Musk weighed in on this after they announced the Stargate project online, and this conversation gets a little bit spicier because Elon says they don't actually have the money. Oh, that's interesting. He said SoftBank has well under $10 billion secured, and he says he has that on good authority. That's on X last night. They don't actually have the money for this. Now, take it with a grain of salt. Elon Musk and Larry Ellison have had their issues. The Oracle CEO doesn't exactly like Elon Musk either.
Elon doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to have to go out for money. I'm really smart. I work for the Wall Street Journal, and I said, "Who are you? This guy's landing rockets." He's landing rockets on robot.
It's wild that Elon's weighing in saying they don't actually have the money. Wild. Absolutely wild. But the implications of this, cancer vaccine. Cancer vaccine. I like America doing business here in America And I like being on the forefront of new technology. I don't like the implications of this. Sam Altman, who is the OpenAI CEO, thrilled about doing this in the United States of America.
To add, but I did want to say I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era. And as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here, we wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President. And I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is I think, wonderful. So.
And I don't think this investment would happen with Joe Biden at the helm or the Democrats at the helm. It's not a business for, it's not a good environment for business. So, like, there's a lot of positives here and there's a lot of negatives. I think the negatives could outweigh the positives if there's a ripple effect from this. But Trump, back at work. And with these investments, he's still trying to put America first. I hate the cancer shot idea. I just hate it. You're telling me that the same technology that couldn't stop you from getting or spreading COVID is going to revolutionize cancer when it couldn't even revolutionize the cold. No thanks. No thanks. $500 billion Stargate project comes in addition to separate pledges of $100 and $200 billion from Masayoshi, $20 billion from DAMAC. Trump says, before the end of his first full business day in Washington, they've secured over $3 trillion in new investments, it is definitely a massive feat.
In total, before the end of my first full business day in Washington in the White House, we've already secured nearly $3 trillion of new investments in the United States, and probably that's going to be 6 or 7 by the end of the week. Tremendous amounts of money are coming in for many things other than even AI. AI seems to be very hot. It seems to be the thing that a lot of smart people are looking at very strongly. And our country will be prospering like never before. I think that's true, and it's going to be the golden age of America.
It's the golden age of America. That's what Donald Trump says. We're entering the golden age of America. I just worry about what those ramifications of a cancer vaccine would be. And again, I worry about the health insurance companies. If you refuse a cancer vaccine, we're not going to have any mandates, but there could be coercion, right? And if you refuse a cancer vaccine, if you get early detection, what does the insurance company do? Do they help you get treatment in other ways? It's definitely an interesting conversation and one that will continue. It's 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here from my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. Do you need a guy that can help you with your investments and with your retirement? Well, if you do, I got a guy. It's Paul and his team at Paul Winkler, Inc. I trust him. I'm a client of Paul, and he's so honest. He wants me to tell you I get paid to do these commercials. He says you got to do it. But I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I can trust Paul. You can trust Paul and his team, too. They don't work on commission. Their focus is on education, and they have educated me every step of the way. We've been consolidating 401ks that we've had on different jobs. We've been diversifying our investments, and every step of the way, Paul is there explaining why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it, and he can do the exact same thing for you. See, your strategy may be different than my strategy because your financial picture may be different than others. But Paul will look at your whole financial picture and then help you make some decisions. Set up a 15-minute phone call today. Get that ball rolling downhill. Go to paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 9:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Deportation efforts have started, according to Tom Homan last night on Fox News.
What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
Well, for it to be in the country illegally, first of all, I mean, there's nothing in the immigration law that says you got to be convicted of a serious crime to be removed under the INA. So if you're in the country illegally, ICE can visit you. But right now, as we said repeatedly, and the President Trump's been clear, we're concentrating on the worst first, the public safety threats and national security threats. And just yesterday, in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers. Some of them were rapists. Some of them raped a child. Some were sexual assault of a child. So ICE is doing their job, and they're prioritizing just as the president said they would. So the ICE is performing excellent right now out in the field, and they're going to continue every day.
That's Tom Homan. They're going to continue every day. Now, that doesn't mean that we aren't going to see pushback from radical elements of the left. Just last night, Antifa launched an attack on a Portland ICE detention center. They said the incident was in retaliation to the Trump administration's mass deportation operations and crackdown on illegal immigration. So they were Antifa militants in Portland, Oregon, Monday night. So it was 2 days ago. Monday night, hours after Trump was sworn into office. And there's video all over X that shows a group of roughly 15 Antifa members dressed in all black block riot gear, starting fires, squaring off with federal law enforcement officials outside the ICE detention center in Portland at about 11 o'clock at night. Insanity. According to the video, the Antifa members encircled officers as they attempted to extinguish one of the fires, with a few of them utilizing megaphones to issue threats and harassment, saying, "I'm so glad you signed up for this." One Antifa member could be heard yelling, mocking the authorities. Andy No had the reporting. This is the same ICE facility in Portland that has been targeted before a couple times throughout the years, beginning in Trump's first term in office. It also has been the scene of more than a few clashes between rioters and federal police. Back in April of 2021, Antifa set fire to that building to protest border security policies, leaving officers trapped inside. Why have we not designated Antifa a terrorist organization yet? We've designated cartels terrorist organizations. Can we now designate Antifa a terrorist organization and deal with them in a serious way and get away from the Democrat? Oh, Antifa is just an idea. Okay, as they circle this same federal building again and light fires again. I think they should be declared terrorists. It doesn't mean that they're going to stop one bit. Tom Homan is on the move, and the deportation efforts will not be slowed down. Donald Trump was talking about border security yesterday during this press conference, and he had some things to say to Mexico and Canada and China for their role in the fentanyl coming into this country. We'll bring you that next right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Metro Nashville police released the body cam footage from a shooting at Cumberland Crossing Apartments in Madison last night. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovic tells us 2 officers spotted a stolen vehicle and approached it at about 10:30 last night.
Metro police say the suspect got out of the car and walked towards an apartment. When they yelled for him, police say he turned around with a gun in hand. Investigators say shots were fired after a confrontation with detectives. Body camera footage shows the suspect getting shot shortly after the body camera is turned on.
Now, that suspect was wounded. It's not clear if police were able to arrest the second suspect in this case. At a White House event last night where he took questions from reporters on his first full day of his second term, President Trump was grilled about his decision to pardon January 6th rioters.
President Trump said he found their sentences excessive.
These people have already served years in prison. And they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing.
Several Tennesseans who were serving time have been released in connection to the pardons and commutations, including the zip tie guy, 32-year-old Eric Mungel of Nashville, 29-year-old Ronald Maccabee of Unionville, 43-year-old Joseph Jose Lino Padilla of Cleveland, and Michael N. Asbury of Knoxville. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
By the way, President Trump has ordered the federal government to get rid of all federal diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and put all the officials who lead DEI on leave with pay. In a memo to the Office of Personnel Management, Trump said DEI programs have divided Americans by race, wasted taxpayer dollars, and resulted in shameful discrimination. The DEI employees will be shown the door by 5 o'clock this afternoon. An effort underway in Tennessee state legislature now to rename Nashville International Airport to Trump International Airport. Chapel Hill Representative Todd Warner has introduced that bill. It does not have a Senate sponsor just yet. And J.P. Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon says he has patched up his relationship with Elon Musk. In a CNBC interview at the World Economic Forum's annual event in Davos, Switzerland, Dimon called Musk the Einstein of our time and expressed an interest in helping Musk and his companies. Last year, J.P. Morgan dropped a lawsuit against Tesla over stock warrant transactions. That's the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
And the show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, betterwater.com. Get yourself a water filter for your home. These guys are great over there, so give them a call or hit the website, betterwater.com. President Trump, I tell you what, last night, watching this press conference, we can be critical of the cancer vaccine. That's okay. And we can be critical of certain moves he's making. I think that he'll listen. But you have to admit, it's good to have a president that can speak to the media again on a myriad of topics. And his foreign policy and the way he's dealing with other nations is top-notch. He was talking about the fentanyl that's coming into our country, the illegal aliens that are coming into our country, and how they're coming in through Mexico and Canada. And he brought up China when it comes to the fentanyl as well last night in the Oval Office.
They've allowed, both of them, in Canada very much so, they've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. And they've killed 300,000 people last year, my opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl. The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive.
And I just like that we have a president that's actually going to tackle this. Did Joe Biden talk about fentanyl at all during his presidency? And let's be perfectly honest, everybody knows somebody that has lost someone to fentanyl. I've lost more than a few friends to fentanyl. And yeah, they make their own choices and they make their own mistakes, but they're losing that chance for redemption because these drugs are spiked with something that is going to kill them. And it's awful. And it's heartbreaking. And this is now the American story, that people lose family members to drugs all the time. All the time. And it doesn't have to be a drug addict. You hear stories of babies crawling around on the floor of an Airbnb in Florida, comes in contact with fentanyl, dies. You hear stories of, a high school kid who's experimenting, not a drug addict, experimenting. Boom, first time, fentanyl, overdose, died. It's awful.
And people are getting killed and families are being destroyed. I mean, the son gets killed and the family is a basket case for the rest of their lives. I mean, I've seen mothers that thought they'd heal. They never heal. They say it gets worse with time. It gets worse with time. They lose their boy. They lose their baby. They lose their young daughter to fentanyl poisoning.
I just think that he's so human here, and it's so true. They do. It'll get better with time. It doesn't. It doesn't. And if you've ever lost a child to this, you understand exactly what he's talking about. It doesn't. It actually it gets worse. It gets worse. And it's got to stop. And Trump is going to put the pressure on these guys.
And I had that talk with President Xi the other day, too, of China. I said, we don't want that crap in our country. We got to stop it. I would have stopped it. I had a deal with him where he was going to give the maximum penalty, which in China is the death penalty for drug dealing. And he was all set. He was going to give the maximum penalty to fentanyl dealers. If they send to the United States, they were going to get the death penalty. And, of course, Biden didn't pick that up. I had that deal all done. It was all wrapped up. We were going to have it done. And then the election went, let's put it nicely, didn't go the proper way. I'm trying to be nice about it. It was rigged. And we had an incompetent president elected, and he never followed up on that deal. But he should have followed up, because if they got the death penalty, they wouldn't be sending fentanyl to Mexico, Canada, and other places.
He's absolutely right. The deal was on the table that if you were a fentanyl dealer and you were sending it from China to Mexico to be manufactured, you would get the death penalty, because that's what they do. They send all the ingredients over to Mexico, they manufacture it, or they're sending it into Canada to ship it into the United States. It's got to stop. Trump had a deal where Xi was going to give the death penalty to anybody doing it. Biden could have picked up that deal, but he didn't. Biden could have enforced that 4 years ago. He chose not to. America last. And it's hurting so many people. At least this guy's willing to talk about it. At least this guy's willing to put the pressure on people to try and change something. And he had more to say about China as well, talking about the tariffs that they paid under him versus what they were dealing with under Joe Biden.
Until I was president, China never paid not 10 cents to the United States. With me, they paid hundreds of $600 billion or so, or more than that even, of tariffs. And if I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a steel mill open in the United States right now. You wouldn't have one steel mill open in the United States. So what I did is I saved the steel industry. I saved other industries too with other tariffs. Other countries are big abusers also. You know, it's not just China. China's an abuser, but the European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take very much.
I just love that he's equal opportunity here. Yeah, China needs to do better. The European Union needs to do better. I will say on the farm products, a lot of them they don't take because of the herbicides and pesticides and stuff that we use on our farm products that's banned over in Europe, which hopefully RFK can get in there and help us fix that. But he's equal opportunity, and this is the way we do foreign policy now. We're back to having adults in charge in foreign policy. It feels good. He also talked about the Middle East and the hostages that are now being returned, which they're being returned because of President Trump, because of the pressure he put on not just Hamas, but on Israel, that Joe Biden was unwilling to do. Joe Biden had how many days? Like 466 days. Trump got it done 5 days before the inauguration.
We're thinking about going to the Middle East, not yet. We have a thing called the hostages are coming back going on right now, and they are coming back. Some of them have been very damaged. You look at the young lady with her hand practically blown off. You know how that happened, right? Did you know how that happened? When you find out, you're not going to be too happy because it was terrible.
When you hear him talk, you do understand that he truly cares for the people that have been put in these tough positions, right? Like you can hear it in his voice, how saddened he is by what's gone on, how disappointed he is by what's transpired over the last 4 years, and you can really look at him and see that he wants to fix this.
But the hostages are starting to come back. If I weren't here, they wouldn't be back ever. They would have never come back. They would have all died. If this were done a year earlier, if Biden would have done this deal a year and a half, 2 years ago, or frankly, it should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened. Nobody should be dead. But through weakness, they allowed it to happen, and then it was a disaster from them. But you go back just 6 months ago, many of these young people were living. You know, young people don't die like that. They're just dying. And young people aren't dying at 22 and 23 years old. They don't die. But now they're dying, and you wonder why they're dying. They're being killed, and they have been killed. But they say 6 months ago you would have had 11 more living hostages. Think of that. 6 months ago. But Biden couldn't get it done, and it was only the imposition that I put on as a deadline that got it done. But it's a very sad situation.
Yeah, and it's being fixed because of President Trump. And had he been in office, it wouldn't have happened. And had Biden had a spine, he could have fixed this a long time ago. But he doesn't. But it's good to hear Trump back in there handling foreign policy. He was also talking, he was asked a question about the ceasefire that he called for with Ukraine and Russia. You know, this is another one that he wants to fix very, very quickly. The numbers of deaths are just astronomical. You know, anywhere from 600 to 800,000 Ukrainians, 800,000 to 1 million Russians. Have you heard the mainstream media talk about the numbers of death from that conflict? I haven't. I've heard the numbers of how much aid we're sending there. And I understand that if we weren't sending our billions and billions of dollars over to Ukraine, this war probably would have ended a long time ago. And we probably would have saved a lot of lives just by not getting involved. But Trump wants to end it.
You called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently?
The war should have never started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged.
Yeah, honestly. Now, listen, I think that Trump is in a much stronger position today than he would have been in 2020 had he won. But he's in a strong position today. He wants to end the war with Ukraine. And he just posted on Truth Social this morning, I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love the Russian people and always had a very good relationship with President Putin. And this, despite the radical left's Russia hoax. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War, losing almost 60 million lives in the process. All of that being said, I'm going to do Russia, whose economy is failing, and President Putin a very big favor. Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries. Let's get this war, which never would have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way or the hard way, and the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. This is how you handle diplomacy. This is how you do it. He's a master at this. He doesn't disparage one side or the other. He operates in the shades of gray, and he's essentially extending an olive branch, saying, "Let's just figure it out. Let's figure it out." I don't want things to have to get worse, but they could. They could. And Trump has that right amount of crazy that I think a guy like Vladimir Putin is going to see that message and go, "All right, let's get on the phone. Let's get on the phone." Honestly. Russia helped us win the Second World War. I love that callback. Like we don't have to be enemies with these nations. We can figure out a way to work together, and we can figure out a way to stop the senseless killing that's going on between Ukraine and Russia right now. But this is what it's like. This is foreign policy in the Trump era. You know, they told us when Biden got into office the adults were back in town, but no. Now the adults are back, and you can hear it. Everybody is respecting President Trump at a level that they never respected President Biden. And things are changing. Things are changing relatively quickly. And Trump, to his credit, he can answer any question on the fly from a room of different reporters. You know, when Biden would finish his announcement with somebody, they would usher all the press out of the room immediately. All these questions came after the Stargate announcement. When Biden was in office, he might have a little announcement, and then all right, press, everybody out, everybody out. Trump gets up there and says, okay, any questions? Yeah, we have a ton of questions. Okay, whatever you want to ask, let's ask it. Even when TikTok comes up, President Trump is like, okay, let's talk about it.
Are you open to Elon buying TikTok?
I would be if he wanted to buy it, yeah.
And on your inauguration,
I'd like Larry to buy it, too. I have the right to make a deal. So the deal I'm thinking about, Larry, let's negotiate in front of the media. The deal, I think, is this, and I've met with owners of TikTok, the big owners. It's worthless if it doesn't get a permit. It's not like, oh, you can take the U.S. The whole thing is worthless. With a permit, it's worth like $1 trillion. So what I'm thinking about saying to somebody is buy it and give half to the United States of America, half, and we'll give you the permit. And they'll have a great partner, the United States. And they'll have something that's actually more valuable because they have the ultimate partner, and the United States will make it very worthwhile for them in terms of the permits and everything else. But so think of it, you have an asset that has no value or has $1 trillion value. It all depends on whether or not the United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give the permit, and the United States should get half.
I love the way he's doing this. Well, hey, if you don't want to make a deal, what you have is worthless. It's absolutely worthless. Or we can make a deal, and the United States gets half. You have an asset that has no value or has $1 trillion value. Which way? Which way you want to go? This is what it's like with the adults back in charge. This is what it's like under Donald Trump. We actually have solid foreign policy. We actually have solid leadership, and we actually have adults back in charge. It's 1021 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Nashville police may have gotten a break in their investigation of car break-ins, and hundreds of DEI employees in the federal government will get the boot at 5 o'clock today. Those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. Love that DEI story. It's fantastic. Promises made, promises kept. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand, 1025. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, betterwater.com. Get yourself a water filter from those guys. Tucker Carlson had an interview with Mayor Eric Adams drop last night. It's actually pretty good, worth the watch. You know, don't leave this show to watch it, but watch it later tonight. Here's a snippet.
People often say, well, you don't sound like a Democrat, and, you seem to have left the party. No, the party left me, and it left working class people.
You complained about allowing hundreds of thousands of illegals, and this indictment was punishment for complaining.
That is clearly my belief.
I'll just admit it.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty funny when they started trucking illegals here because it's a sanctuary city. Basically committed an act of insurrection against the federal government by ignoring federal law. Isn't there a sense in which New York kind of deserves this?
I don't think they should be rounded up in the middle of the night and say, we're going to move you out.
Well, then why isn't it fair to send all of their illegals here? Because you guys welcome them.
No, we're not welcoming them. We've been very clear. We're not welcoming everyone. We were getting Venezuelan gang leaders that were coming to the city, creating crimes.
And so you tell the president and his aides this, and what do they say?
Be a good Democrat, Eric.
Be a good Democrat?
We in dire need of workers in this country.
Well, because the more immigration you have, the smaller the percentage of Americans who work.
And how do you address that?
Maybe not be a sanctuary city.
Damn it, I'm at the end of the line here.
I mean, the interview looks absolutely fantastic from the snippet, and it sounds even better as you watch it. He said, people say you don't sound like a Democrat. You seem to have left the party. So the party left me. A lot of Democrats feel this way. You know, you're getting illegal aliens shipped to your city, Venezuelan gang leaders. Yeah, deal with it. This is what you asked for. But Trump is back. And the administration is saying, turn back now. Head back home or face prosecution. That's the message being sent to border crossers today. Stephen Miller posting on X, all illegal aliens seeking entry into the United States should turn back now. Anyone entering the United States without authorization faces prosecution and expulsion. These are the promises that were made by the Trump administration. And we don't need to play the games of shipping illegal aliens up to New York, up to Martha's Vineyard anymore. The games are done, okay? The games were to wake up the left. I think it woke up quite a few people, but it's time to send them home. Tom Homan said that it's already began. ICE teams are out there deporting people as of today. He said this on Fox News yesterday.
Expecting, based on your initial schedule, that today roundups of criminal illegal aliens and the process of deporting them would begin. That seems to have been put on hold for a little while. When can we expect that to happen? Where will it begin?
No, it started.
It has started.
ICE teams are out there as of today.
I love that. John Roberts, he says, it seems to have been put on hold. No, it started. Started as of yesterday.
We gave them the direction to prioritize public safety threats that we're looking for. So we've been working up the target list. There was some discussion about Chicago because the specific operational plan was released. So we had to look at and reevaluate, does this raise officer safety concerns? And it does. But we've addressed that, and teams are all effective today.
So critics were saying, okay, you're going to round up people's abuela, their grandmother, and ship them back to where they emigrated from. Who are the people that you're targeting, at least in this initial phase?
Right out of the gates, public safety threats. Those who are in the country illegally that's been convicted or arrested for a serious crime. But let me be clear. It's not only public safety threats that will be arrested, because in sanctuary cities, we're not allowed to get that public safety threat in the jail, which means we got to go to the neighborhood and find him. And when we find him, he may be with others. And unlike the last administration, we're not going to tell ICE officers not to arrest an illegal alien. So if they find others, they'll be arrested. So sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want: more agents in the neighborhood and more collateral arrests.
You know, if you're worried about your abuela being picked up on an illegal immigration charge, I would say talk to your local officials and make sure that they're only picking up criminal elements in the jails, right? It's going to backfire on them in these sanctuary cities because they're not going to turn a blind eye to your abuela. Sorry. If abuela snuck into the country, she's got to leave, just like everybody else. It's time You got to go home. Tom Homan was also asked about the northern border, and he didn't hold back. And then after his interview with Fox News, he went over to CNN and did the exact same thing. I'll bring you that audio when we return. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 10:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Metro Nashville police caught up with a 16-year-old who allegedly stole a Ford F-150 in Berry Hill on Sunday. He was getting into that truck on Monday at an apartment complex in East Nashville when he was arrested. Now he's being charged in juvenile court. Now police are trying to piece together whether this teen is connected with a rash of car break-ins in East Tennessee this week. This man tells Channel 4 his car window was smashed and his proof of insurance and car registration was stolen.
Criminals looking to steal your identity, it can give them a lot of information and ammunition that they need to actually take advantage of you.
In December, more than 80 cars were broken into in the same area. 2 people hospitalized this morning after a car collided with a WeGo bus at Clarksville Pike and Rosa Parks Boulevard. One of the people transported to the hospital, a juvenile who had been on the bus. That crash happened around 6 o'clock this morning. That is when the traffic lights at that intersection changed from flashing yellow to its normal operation. Today, the impact begins after President Trump's sweeping dismantling of the federal government's DEI programs.
The Trump administration says by 5 p.m. today, all federal employees working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI programs and initiatives, must be put on paid administrative leave. That's according to a memo from the Office of Personnel Management obtained by ABC News. This move by the Trump administration shuts down the relevant DEI offices and programs across the federal government. It follows his executive action to dismantle federal DEI programs, something he pledged to do on the campaign trail. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Meantime, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has ordered that any U.S. outpost in the country or abroad may only fly one flag, and that is the American flag. Any LGBT pride flag or Black Lives Matter flag will no longer be flown, and any State Department employee who violates that order will be terminated. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 10:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock Store. You know that I train at the Glock Store. It's the place you should be training too, because the Shoot270.com indoor ranges are private rooms with personal instructors. You're not at a lane range with a stranger next to you. You're in a private room with a personal instructor. You shoot less and you learn more. You go through actual tactical situations, real world scenarios, and you actually learn how to handle yourself with your firearm. The Glock Store is incredible. It is totally different than anything you've ever experienced, and you need to experience it soon. And if you go down there during the month of January, book your session at shoot270.com, and you mention my name, well, you get to shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5. I shot this firearm. This is the first time I ever shot a full auto. It is so much fun. You are going to have the best time down at the Glock Store. Every time is fun down at the Glock Store. Book your session at shoot270.com. The right way to train, personal instructor in a private room at the Glock Store. And in January, you get to shoot a full auto MP5. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. I train at the Glock Store. You should too. Book your session at shoot270.com.
infrastructure. So, Tom, we were expecting, based on your initial schedule, that today roundups of criminal illegal aliens in the process of deporting them would begin. That seems to have been put on hold for a little while. When can we expect that to happen? Where will it begin?
No, it started.
It has started.
ICE teams are out there as of today.
We thought it was going to be put on hold. No. We're working. Tom Homan. Border czar. A real border czar. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Get yourself a water filter for your home or business. BetterWater.com. Tom Homan, we started. Deportations are happening. Stan in Brentwood has been waiting on the line for a minute, wants to talk about deportations. What's up, Stan?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I was perusing the Office of Homeland Security data that's available for everybody to look at, and I noticed that during the Clinton administration that he averaged per year about well over 1.5 million deportations per year. Now, they break this up in terms of removals and returns. There are two different descriptions of each of those, but they added up to 1.5 million per year. I don't hear anybody talking about that, but it looks like we may already have the roadmap as written by a Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Democrats used to oppose illegal immigration. That wasn't a strange position to hold for quite a few years. You know, they called Obama the deporter in chief, but Bill Clinton, it was his 1995 State of the Union address. He talked about illegal immigration and the effect that it has on our country.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers.
This didn't used to be a right-wing talking point. You know, this used to be an American talking point.
That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before.
And that's the deportations that Sam was talking about.
By cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
Could you imagine a Democrat saying that today? We're going to stop benefits to illegal aliens?
In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan.
I mean, it was a simpler time, right? we actually had sane people on the left. Now the sanest one that we have on the left is the guy that suffered a stroke and wears a sweatshirt. Okay, all right, that's where we're at today. Tom Homan, though, he wasn't holding back. He's on Fox News, and he's saying, listen, we're focused on the southern border, but we're not forgetting the northern border either. And this has been a point of contention with Donald Trump as well. You know, he's holding Canada's feet to the fire. You're letting fentanyl and illegal aliens in, just like Mexico are. And Tom Homan mentioned as much yesterday on Fox News.
So we got some more violence, this time on the northern border. Border Patrol agent David Malan was killed. The acting DHS Secretary Benjamin Huffman said this: a Border Patrol agent assigned to the U.S. Border Patrol's Swanton sector was fatally shot in the line of duty. This incident is being swiftly investigated, and DHS will release additional information as soon as it becomes available. You know, we've been focused so much on the southern border, but we've also, here at Fox, talked about the northern border. But this is something the Biden administration basically ignored for 4 years.
Yeah, the crossings in the northern border, especially in that area where the officer was killed, the crossings are up 600% of special interest aliens. We got a lot of people from India, Pakistan, Turkey, people that can afford to go to Mexico and sneak across the northern border, which is much easier. For the agent, you know, my heart breaks. You know, my 3.5 decades, I buried Border Patrol agents, I buried ICE agents, and it's a sad day for all of us. And so, God bless his family, and we'll help them through that. But a terrible northern border is not going to be underlooked by the Trump administration. We realize they're understaffed. We realize that the numbers are up 600%. So we're going to address that along the southwest border.
You know, they're not leaving any stone unturned, and our thoughts and prayers go out to that Border Patrol agent and his family as well. Crossings up 600% at the northern border aren't anything to bat your eye at. Granted, the numbers are far less than what's happening at the southern border, but the Trump administration is saying we're not going to overlook that. We're not. We shouldn't. Nobody should overlook that. You know what the perfect number of illegal border crossings is? 0. And that's the goal, right? 0. So they're out there, they're finding people to deport, and they're shutting down the border as we speak. You know, it was Monday. Texas was installing more buoys on the Rio Grande. And again, one of the things I like was that we didn't have to worry about the federal government suing Texas to make them stop. You know, isn't that nice? The federal government isn't actively working against securing the border any longer. They're in the midst of securing it. Tom Holman was talking about shutting the border down on CNN.
Look, we need to secure the border. We need to stop the bleeding, right? We can keep bailing the water out of the boat, but we got to plug those holes. So right now, it's all about securing this nation, securing the border, and we'll address that in the coming days. But right now, we're going to shut that border down and get a hold of this problem. What's happening on our border is the biggest national security vulnerability I've seen in my career, and I've got over 35 years doing this. We need to take action to secure the border, and we'll discuss the other policies down the road. But right now, it's all about securing the border and saving lives.
Yep, and in the meantime, the media is already trying to gin up hysteria. They already have videos of crying migrants down at the border after the CBP One app was shut down. We discussed yesterday, Christian Today, this publication is looking for videos and testimonies from illegal aliens who are being deported and kids that have been separated from their parents, and they're going to try to emotionally manipulate you. During this interview on CNN, Dana Bash is the one doing it, and she just is sitting there stone-faced, looking miserable, because you know what? The adults are back in charge, and we're going to enforce the laws of this country, whether you like it or not. The media, though, won't cover that story. They won't. They'll cover it and make it seem like Trump is evil. That's what they'll do. I mean, they're doing the same thing with the January 6th pardons over and over and over again. We've seen them do this with the January 6th pardons. They're letting out the insurrectionists and the rioters. They're doing that. We never get a fair shake from the media. We never do. President Trump was asked about the January 6th pardons and the concern that everybody has about the violence that was perpetrated against police officers yesterday after he announced Stargate, and this was his response.
I also say this: you go to Portland, where they wrapped police officers, shot police officers, nothing happened to anybody. You go to Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city and people died. Portland, a lot of people died. Wait a minute. And you go also, take a look at Minneapolis, because I was there and I watched it. And if I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city wouldn't even exist today. People were killed and nobody went to jail. So these people have already served a long period of time, and I made a decision to give a pardon. Joe Biden gave a pardon yesterday to a lot of criminals. These are criminals that he gave a pardon to. And you should be asking that question. Why did he give a pardon to all of these people that committed crimes? Why did he give that pardon? You know, it's the media won't cover the story. They just won't. They're not going to give a fair shake to this whatsoever. And it was last night. They were still releasing J6ers from the D.C. gulag, I think the overwhelming majority, have been released now. But a CNN reporter is saying that Philadelphia's District Attorney Larry Krasner, progressive Democrat, I believe he's a Soros prosecutor, is exploring state charges against pardoned U.S. Capitol rioters from Pennsylvania. Now, I mean, you're going to have a bit of an issue when you have to deal with double jeopardy and the legal hurdles that'll come with that. But this CNN reporter is saying that Larry Krasner told him you can have a state prosecution for conduct that was not fully encompassed in the federal prosecution. So they're not done going after the J6ers. They're angered by the pardons, but the media doesn't have the same energy. They're not going to cover the Joe Biden pardons and commutations with the same fervor that they're going to cover the J6 pardons, because the media is wholly corrupt, and they've been complicit in this destruction of America. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen was on CNN last night, and he called them out to their face because they wanted to know about J6 pardons. And he says, well, what about
What about the Biden pardons?
President Biden changed all this. Remember the 37 murderers that he commuted their sentences? Remember two of them, one that he pardoned, the one that he pardoned killed 2 FBI agents. Another one literally beat an officer to death with a hammer. And another one literally tied up a woman who had accused him of rape, tied her up in duct tape, put a center block around her, and threw her over a bridge live. And so you remember that the violence that he pardoned, and I'm just saying you got to compare both of them, Aaron. If you're going to cover the story, cover both stories.
Cover both stories. You want to go in on J6ers and violence towards police officers? By all means, cover both stories. Erin Burnett, I mean, she just put her head in her hand because she had no response to that. Because the mainstream media doesn't cover both stories. The mainstream media, they're in overdrive with Trump hate right now. And we got another, what is it, 4 years of this? Get ready. You would think that the press would learn their lesson, but they haven't. Shout out to Mark Wayne Mullen for calling them out. Joe Biden commuted 37 brutal death row sentences. You got nothing to say about it. Nothing. We haven't even gotten into the sentences that he pardoned or the Chinese nationals that he sent back that were convicted of child porn. Like, no big deal, right? CNN mentioned that once. No. But they'll have Congressman Jamie Raskin on to talk about the J6 prisoners being released. And Jamie Raskin gets on the news and he says, you know what's happening? They're creating a MAGA army of foot soldiers.
So then the question is, why are they being released? Are they being released as a reserve army of political foot soldiers to act on behalf of MAGA and Donald Trump?
Yeah, is that why they're being released? Okay. These guys, they're broken. You do understand that, right? Like, the left is completely broken. They have no idea how to course correct, so they're just doubling down. I don't know how that's going to work out for them. I don't think it's going to work out for them at all. Maybe it'll rile up their most rabid members of the base, but even then, I have a hard time seeing people agree with this. Is he making a reserve army of MAGA foot soldiers? It's like no. And again, and I've said this a couple times, had Donald Trump wanted an insurrection on January 6th, he could have got one. 100%. If he wanted to cross the Rubicon, all he would have had to do is say, I need every veteran firefighter and police officer that wants to take this country back, join me, and let's take it back. And do you know what would have happened? Chaos. And they probably would have done some very awful things. But Donald Trump didn't do that. He said peace, law and order. Be respectful. Respect the police. Stand down. That's what happened. No, he's not pardoning them to have a reserve army of MAGA foot soldiers. He's pardoning them because they stayed inside the velvet ropes and they decided to pray inside the Capitol after having the door held open for them by law enforcement. He's pardoning them because they spent 3 years in a D.C. gulag. He's pardoning them because they have more than paid their debt to society. And you know what? 4 of those J6ers didn't get out at all. They committed suicide while in prison. Nothing on mainstream media about that. Nothing. Miss me with the pearl ringing and the hand clutching. It's 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
President Trump is demanding Vladimir Putin make a deal to end the war on Ukraine, and China is responding to Trump's threats. We'll tell you about it at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did the response sound something like, yes, sir, right away, sir? I'm hoping.
The Chinese response, or I should say the Chinese Communist Party response, is always trying to put it back on the person making the threat.
Yep. Commies do commie things.
Yep.
China.
It's 10:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Get a water filter, betterwater.com. You need to fix the water. You understand what the water's doing to the frogs, don't you? Everybody understands that.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Betterwater.com. Speaker Mike Johnson shocked about pardons. Not the J6 pardons, the Biden pardons. Oh, you can't hear the question being asked by the reporter, but she's asking him about the pardons. He's at a podium in D.C.
It was shocking. I mean, it was shocking what President Biden did on the way out, pardoning his family for more than a decade of whatever activity, any nonviolent offenses. It was breathtaking to us. I don't think that's anything like that's ever been anticipated. And by the way, go look at the tape. 4 years ago, when it was just implied that President Trump might do something similar, they were apoplectic. Joe Biden himself, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, roll the tape. They all said that would be crazy and unconscionable, and now they're cheering it along.
Yeah, he's right. We actually had the tape, and we played it on the show yesterday. You can find it on X. About 3 minutes of Democrats and leftist media people, Mockingbird media. They're saying, "Oh, you can't do that. Preemptive pardons for your family. Why would you preemptively pardon someone if they weren't guilty? If he pardons them, they must be guilty." But the mainstream media doesn't have the same energy when it comes to Joe Biden and his pardons. Not shocking. Side note, with the J6 pardons, they're saying that J.D. Vance was instrumental in those pardons. Like in the lead up to the election, he helped develop and advocate for all of those pardons through the transition. Establishment media forces and establishment Republicans like Senator Mitch McConnell are attacking J.D. Vance after Trump pardoned a broad swath of J6 political prisoners, arguing that what he did went against what Vance said he supported during a recent interview sometime before the inauguration. But White House sources are actually telling Breitbart News that nothing could be further from the truth, and Vance was specifically advocating for the exact broad approach that Trump ended up executing on his first day in office. J.D. Vance, working behind the scenes, crushing it. Vance, 2 different White House officials and others familiar with his role told Breitbart News, was throughout the course of the entire transition since Election Day advocating for exactly the pardons that we saw. Throughout the transition, JD was behind the scenes, pushing as hard as possible for broad pardons and commutations of the J6 hostages. Vance's press secretary, Taylor Van Kirk, also issued a broader statement publicly saying that Vance is 100% in line with Trump here, and that the media should spend more time focused on the controversial pardons by former President Joe Biden of his family members in his final hour as president on Monday. Yeah, they snuck it in during the speech. Nice. So they're trying to drive a wedge between Vance and Trump with some anonymous reporting, and they said, no, not going to work. Vance actually was one of the leaders behind the scenes on these pardons. Shout out JD. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. President Trump's telling Russian President Vladimir Putin, make a deal to end the war on Ukraine or else. He posts to Truth Social, settle now, stop this ridiculous war. In all caps, it's only going to get worse if we don't make a deal, and soon. Trump posts he has no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries. Trump says it's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. Meanwhile, China's responding to President Trump's tariff threats. We get that from Ines de la Cuetara.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning responding to Trump's tariff pledge, saying China has always believed there are no winners in trade wars and tariff wars, and China has always firmly safeguarded its national interests. Trump is threatening to impose a 25% tariff on Chinese exports to the United States starting in February.
A man has been wounded after being shot by Nashville police in Madison. Happened around 10:30 at the Cumberland Crossing Apartments last night. Police spotted a stolen vehicle. They approached it. That's when one of the men emerged from the car with a gun in his hand.
The two detectives, after an interaction, fired upon this 20-year-old individual, and he was wounded, transported to Skyline Medical Center, where he is currently being treated.
And police have released the body cam footage. That shooting now under investigation. Serious cold weather again this morning. Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro.
Single-digit temperatures, wind chills that are near and below zero to start off the day. It's why we have this cold weather advisory, which goes until 9 a.m. Once we get past 9 a.m., the cold doesn't completely go away, but we do start to work our way out of that danger territory.
Right now, we're 21 degrees. We're just 11 degrees from the freezing mark. By all accounts, Pam Bondi did well in her confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
The partisanship, the weaponization will be gone. America will have one tier of justice for all.
But Senate Democrats have put a 7-day hold on meeting again to vote on her confirmation to become U.S. Attorney General. Until Bondi gets confirmed, Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove is in charge of the Justice Department. Just this morning, he issued a memo telling federal prosecutors it's their duty to investigate state and local officials who obstruct President Trump's immigration orders. To that end, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee calling on the state legislature to create an immigration enforcement agency and to fund it in a special session next week. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Get a water filter, betterwater.com. We were talking about, we've talked about a myriad of topics, but illegal immigration's come up more than a few times. David in Nashville wants to talk about illegal aliens. What's up, David? Oh.
Hey, brother, my question for you is, what are they going to do with people like me? I'm a business owner in Nashville, first of all. Also, I was married to an illegal alien. We have a kid that's 12. She's remarried. They have 2 kids. We're a blended family. It's all about the kids. They pay their taxes. She's been here since 17. She's almost 40. She gets a return. Been a great citizen in the community. What are we going to do? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Latino community are the Irish and Chinese of long ago that built our infrastructure. So what are we going to do for the Latino community that has been here since they were kids and really have been a part of this country and really helped build it? That's my question.
Is she a U.S. citizen?
No, sir.
I would suggest self-deport and file the paperwork.
Well, yeah, we got an attorney. So I'm just saying, are they just going to randomly just come and tear families apart?
No, right now, what they want to do is focus on the violent criminals. But in sanctuary cities, where they can't go into jails and they're not holding people on ICE detainers, yeah, it's gonna be find them where they are. And if your wife happens to be in a room with an illegal alien who has been committing violent crimes, yeah, she might get swept up in that. Now, I don't know if you're going to have that issue in Nashville because I think our law enforcement are going to be cooperating with ICE. And again, the first wave is going to be those violent gang members. But, I mean, at the end of the day, brother, I'm sorry, man. You broke into the country. Yeah. You broke the rules. So she should have figured out the paperwork at some point while she was married to you, or self-deport and figure out the paperwork on the back end. That way you don't get, caught up and sent home and deal with it that way.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year, to say the least.
It is, man. And listen, I hear you. It's not easy, but she knew she snuck into the country illegally, right? Like she wasn't surprised by that.
But think about this. If technically every Latino in the United States, the good ones, that are working, hardworking, if they all just stop tomorrow, what do you think would happen to the country?
We'd hire a lot more American citizens.
Probably. But if the country would definitely stop for a minute. So.
Yeah. I mean,
right. Thank
listen,
you, brother.
Growing pains, brother. Growing pains. Like, it sucks, man. I feel for you.
I'm on the right side of history. Don't get me wrong. On the right side of the aisle. So I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to tap dance through all this.
Well, but why didn't she do the paperwork when she was married to you?
Because I pissed her off.
All right. Well,
we're divorced, obviously.
That'll do it.
It'll do it. That'll do it. I tried, man. I begged her. I begged her to get it done. But
I mean, in that scenario, brother, it's like, you reap what you sow. You know what I mean? If you make your bed, you got to lie in it.
Nah, I hear you. We'll get through it. We'll figure it out.
Hey, man, I feel for you. I feel for you, but at the same time, it's like I'm going to be as cold as I can in this, and I think that you got to take emotions out. It sucks. Yeah, that sucks, man. That's a tough story. But I don't think that anybody should be getting special treatment in this. Like, you came into the country illegally, you got to go.
Yeah, start it over, reboot, and then do it correctly. I get you.
100%. I appreciate the call, Dave, and thank you for calling in, man. I'm sure there's a lot of stories like Dave's, and it sucks. It sucks, but you know what? Like, honestly, at the end of the day, a majority of Americans support deporting all illegal aliens. We had a mandate of 77 million people to clean up Biden's mess with illegal immigration. And it's been going on for decades. I understand that. But even CNN just put up a public poll that shows support for deporting illegal aliens is above 55%.
Deport all immigrants here illegally. I will note the ABC News poll asked about undocumented immigrants. So we have slightly different questions, but these were all taken within the last month. And there's real uniformity here. That's what I really think you see. You see real uniformity. Deport all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% of the New York Times. Marquette, 64%. CBS News, 57%. ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally. There's no arguing with these different numbers because they're all essentially the same across 4 different pollsters.
They're all the same. New York Times, Marquette, CBS, ABC. 55+%. Marquette at the highest, 64%. Yes, deport all illegal aliens. This is what the American people voted for. This is what Donald Trump promised the American people. This is what's coming. And yeah, dude, I feel for David. Like, that sucks, man. That sucks. But you broke the rules. Like, it's not a shock or a surprise that you're here illegally. It's not, oh my gosh, I am? What? I had no idea. You know, this isn't a parking ticket from 2 decades ago. You snuck into the country illegally. You got to deal with the repercussions of that. And I'm sorry that we have an administration that isn't willing to look the other way anymore, but that's the reality. This is what we wanted. We have apartment complexes being taken over by gang members. We have MS-13 in Tren de Aragua. You know, have we gotten word on if those brothels in Antioch were illegal aliens or not? Have we gotten word on that yet?
Not yet.
The longer they go without saying, the more inclined I am to believe. You know, it's like the Ann Coulter rule. Well, if they don't say it, you kind of know why. But the majority of Americans, over 55%, deport all immigrants here illegally.
So if they say yes today-ish, how has that changed over time?
Yeah, this is where I think you get very interesting. And so we'll take a look at that ABC News question in particular, because you can really see that there's been a massive shift from when Trump was first getting into office 8 years ago, right? Deport all undocumented immigrants. You go back to 2015, I'm going to come to your side of the screen, it was 42%. Hello. Go to 2016, it was 36%. Look at where we are now. This was taken at the end of last year, 56%.
20% jump from 2016 to 2024. And listen, you know what really caused that jump? Joe Biden rolling out the welcome mat for every illegal alien from all these different countries. It's not just Hispanic Americans, right? We're dealing with Middle Easterners. We're dealing with Egyptians, Pakistanis, Sudanese, Haitians. Like, go down the line. It's not just a Hispanic thing. Biden made this problem worse for the dreamers of the world. I'm sorry. It's not going to change. People's minds aren't going to change on this.
I got an update on that Antioch brothel, Brother Chris.
Hit me.
The Tennessee Star reports that the men are believed to be from Venezuela, and that looks like the search warrant and arrest were first announced on social media that day. It looks like the 5 men arrested following the execution of a search warrant on Wednesday at a property in Antioch, Tennessee by state, federal law enforcement agencies, including the Metro Nashville Police Department, U.S. Department of Homeland Security Investigations, and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. They are being held on an ICE immigration detainer.
Shocker. Venezuela, home to Tren de Aragua. You know, I'm sure it's only a handful of brothels, though, so don't worry.
Well, and you might remember there were 2 other homes that had been raided that were linked, that were believed to possibly linked to this one.
Yeah, and they'll say we're not compassionate, we have no heart, but what about the females that are being sex trafficked by illegal aliens? You know, like, I'm sorry. I'd rather go clean slate completely than let any of these monsters stay in the country. Like, no, sorry. If you're here illegally, you got to go home. You got to go home. And Governor Lee is now setting up a task force, correct? And this is after DeSantis set up his task force, right?
Yeah, and he wants this to be funded through this special session that starts on January 27th.
I just wonder why they waited so long. You know, couldn't we have done this, last year, the year before?
Maybe trying to avoid lawsuits from the Biden Justice Department.
Maybe waiting for Texas or Florida to do it first, like we seem to do with everything else in this state. Honestly, I don't know. Does that annoy anybody else? It annoys me to no end that Tennessee seems to always be the little brother to Texas and Florida. Like, hey guys, wait up for me. I want to go too. Can we lead a little bit? Can we go out in front and say consequences be damned? Just once. The American people want it. You saw a 20% jump in the ABC poll from 2016 to 2024 of support for mass deportations, 36 to 56.
This is 20 points higher than it was just before Trump got into office the first time. So Feelings towards immigration in this country, feelings towards undocumented immigrants and deporting all of them have become considerably more hawkish, and I think that gives Donald Trump much more leverage to go with the American people and sort of have these hawkish, some might say harsh, different rhetoric and also issue-based sort of going after immigrants who are here illegally.
Is it hawkish? Is it harsh to say that I don't want people here illegally to be here? I mean, let's be honest. Border security is national security. And we're letting in special interest aliens for what reason again? For like what? Oh, is this too harsh for you that we're worried about terror attacks and we're worried about crime and we're worried about illegal gangs taking over apartment complexes? That's too harsh? Is that too harsh with the tongue?
And so I think the American people are going to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt to do what he wants to do, at least if you believe these blunt questions, including this one.
And these polls are, not exactly Breitbart News or the Post Millennial. You know what I mean? This is ABC, CBS, Marquette, and the New York Times. I'd be willing to bet that these numbers are actually low compared to what the average Americans think today. I think that 56% is probably criminally low. You had a mandate from 77 million people. I think 56% is low.
How about immigration levels?
Yeah, okay. So this sort of goes in line with that, right? Which is, again, trying to get at the underlying feelings. Want immigration levels decreased. This includes legal and illegal immigration. Look at this. Last year, 55%. That is the highest level since the 9/11 aftermath. You go back just to 2020.
And this, again, legal and
Legal
illegal.
and
So they
illegal.
people want less people coming into the country.
Yeah. Yep. And more jobs for American citizens. We saw this conversation happen with the H-1B visas, which quickly got swept under the rug and people stopped talking about it. Yeah, we want American jobs to go to American citizens. I don't think that's a harsh thing to understand. We don't want to just bring in everybody. We can't bring in everybody. We need to lower some of these levels.
Exactly. They want less people coming into the country. Look at that. That's a 14-point rise from 2023. You go back to 2016 when Donald Trump again was running for president the first time. It was 38%. That's a 17-point rise. So the bottom line is more folks want people who are here illegally deported, and their overall feelings towards immigration have become considerably more hawkish since Donald Trump was first getting it.
Yeah, well, we're getting back to America first and American citizens first. That's what people want, right? We want foreign workers to not undercut our pay via H-1B visas, via illegal immigration. This isn't a crazy thing, right? Like we played the Bill Clinton State of the Union from 1995. Was it last hour? As some caller brought up Bill Clinton and his deportation levels. Like this didn't used to be a right-left thing. This was just an American thing, and it made sense. Tom Homan is out there, though, and he's saying, to people, are people expecting to get a visit from ICE? What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
Well, for it to be in the country illegally, first of all, I mean, there's nothing in the immigration law that says you got to be convicted of a serious crime to be removed under the INA. So if you're in the country illegally, ICE can visit you. But right now, as we said repeatedly, and the President Trump's been clear, we're concentrating on the worst first, the public safety threats, the national security threats. And just yesterday, in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers. Some of them were rapists. Some of them raped a child. Some were sexual assault of a child. So ICE is doing their job, and they're prioritizing just as the president said they would. So the ICE is performing excellent right now out in the field, and they're going to continue every day.
Let's go. I mean, this is what the American people voted for overwhelmingly. 77 million people gave Donald Trump a mandate to get this done, and they're going to get it done. They say we're mean. They'll say we have no heart. Say, where's the compassion? Where's the compassion for Rachel Marin and her family? Where's the passion for Jocelyn Nungary and her family, Lake and Riley? The list goes on and on and on. You never hear them shedding a tear for those people. Wild. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I want to tell you about my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you need health insurance, you got to talk to Shane. He's an expert. Over 20 years of experience, and he's going to shop the entire health market for you to find the best plan. He actually has over 75 different companies to shop from, and every type of plan available in the market. And it doesn't really matter what your income level or health status is. Shane can figure something out for you. Don't let yourself or someone you know get taken advantage of by these call center agents with limited, overpriced coverage. Shane can be saving you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums. And some of the plans that Shane has will even pay you when you use them. I'm not going to take away his thunder. He'll explain that to you, and it's pretty wild. Go ahead and give Shane a call today. He'll break it all down. Let him know that I sent you. He'll show you how much you could be saving on quality coverage right now. 615-465-0023 is Shane's phone number, 615-465-0023, or you can go to covernash.com to book an appointment with Shane Ring. It's time to get a quality health plan managed by you, not the government. covernash.com.
Now, the Metro Council is asking police, NDOT, and other agencies to improve traffic across the city, but they don't want too many people pulled over by police, especially minorities. I'll tell you about it coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Thanks for listening to the show, however you're listening, whether you're on the TuneIn app, the iHeartRadio app, the FM dial, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or if you're listening to me after the fact on the podcast on Apple or Spotify, we appreciate you. Ken's on the road and wants to talk illegal aliens in jobs. What's up, Ken?
Hey, Chris. How's it going, man? I've called in before. It's first time caller to your show. I love listening to you, but I've been trucking for 32 years.
I appreciate it, man.
About the last 15 years of this industry has gone downhill. It is full of foreigners. And look, I got some of them coming up to me at shippers, the places I'm loading and places I'm unloading, and they'll want to ask me a question about what we're doing there. and they'll hold their phone up and ask me through one of those translators on their phone. And I'm like, how are you getting a CDL license? When I got one in 1993, I think it was, I had to be able to read and write the English language. But, man, they have ran us out of everywhere. We can't hardly park nowhere no more because they throw bags of garbage out. They'll take the big 1-gallon jugs that windshield washer fluid comes in and use it to urinate.
Oh, jeez.
Of the road. Walmart parking lot. Walmart's have banned us. We can't even we used to be able, Walmart used to welcome us. We could go in and shop, get some stuff on the truck, and then hit the road again. But they've left so much garbage running over people's cars, and they can't drive. I've had one run me off the road in Albuquerque, New Mexico one time.
It's absolutely insane, man. It's like you hear story after story like this. What is?
And most of them are Middle Easterners too, and from Canada too. A lot of them come over from Canada. I had one try to jump me at a fuel island at a truck stop in Prescott, Arkansas, a few years ago.
That's insane. What do you like the supervisors and the owners of the trucking company say?
I mean, what can they say? Just deal with it, and I mean, they don't know what to tell us. We don't know what to say. Even the DOT officers we talk to. I'm telling you, man, when I go into a shipper now, they're glad that I'm a typical American, English-speaking American. They're glad to see me because they can't hardly speak to those guys, and they get aggravated with them because they need to get them trucks loaded and get them down the road, and those guys ain't prepared when they come in.
It's insanity.
And I know the majority of them's got to be illegal, man. I mean, it's got to be. There's no way. I mean, I see them from Somalia, Bosnia, Russia. One kid come to a steel mill I was at a while back in Middletown, Ohio. He wasn't even equipped, man, and you're going to get a 48,000-pound coil of steel, and you don't even have the equipment to haul it. And he was trying to cash at me and buy some of my equipment from me, and I gave him 2 dunnage boards, but dude, it's crazy.
It's insane, man. It's insane. It's got to stop. I appreciate the call, Ken. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think it's just the trucking industry. I got a text here. I'm not going to say the name. I don't want to get this guy in trouble, but he said, I'm a supervisor, concrete crew at the airport. 2 of my workers have been here over 10 years, still don't speak English, haven't bothered becoming citizens. Yes, I've reported them to ICE, and they both own firearms. Absolutely insane. This is the new reality. Who's on line 3? My phones are bugging on this side. Is it Michael? All right, let's go to Mike on line 3. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Great. Well, I drive a lot and I listen to your show a lot, and I wanted to chip in because I am an immigrant. I immigrated from Eastern Europe some time ago, and I am a U.S. citizen now for quite a few years now. And my wife is from over there, too, and she's on her way to become a U.S. citizen, too. And I just want to talk about this because United States is built by immigrants and based on immigrants, but this has to stop. And it has to stop because, first of all, it is not fair for all the people like me and my wife and hundreds of thousands of others that come here and go through the legal channels.
Yep.
And we go through the whole process as long as it takes, jump through all the rings, circus rings that immigration has created to do things the right way and obtain our citizenship the right way, while somebody else just walks over the border.
Well, and it's not just that they walk over the border, Mike. They walk over the border and they get a debit card, a cell phone, a hotel room, and a flight to New York City.
Well, yeah, it's all that. But even if they didn't get those things, it's still not right.
Yep.
And I am all for immigration, but it's to explain it to some people that don't really understand how all this works and how a lot of us feel. I did vote for Trump. I'm absolutely in support of his program and what he's implementing. But I am somebody who has quite a bit of experience with that, like firsthand. And I'll tell you, for example, years ago, we're talking about like 15, 20 years ago, I worked, I'm not going to mention where, but big hotel chains, right? And I already had my citizenship, and I went over there and applied for work. And this is not anything new, really. I went and applied for work, and it was during the high season. And during the high season, I would go and apply for work, and I happened to know the human resources director there. And I went over there, and there were 2 piles of applications. And all the American citizens went on one pile, And all the exchange students, although they came here legally, on one of those brigades or whatever they call them, the H-1B visas,
Yep.
went on another pile. And the pile with the students got hired first. And when that pile got exhausted, that's when they start pulling from the pile of the U.S.
Well, and the thing that bugs me the most is that pile, the H-1B visas, they're paying them less than the American citizens. Mike, I appreciate the call. You're a true American. And I do find that legal immigrants to this country, first gen, they hate illegal immigration more than anybody else. Anytime you talk to a legal immigrant, it is exactly the way Mike puts it. They are more irate than your average born here citizen. They say, why did I wait in line? Why did I wait in line? Mike, I appreciate the call. It's 11:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, I've got breaking news. News 2 is reporting two students have been shot at Antioch High School. This is News 2 reporting that 2 students have been shot at Antioch High School. The Metro Council asking police, NDOT, and others to improve traffic across the city in a resolution that has been changed. The District 2 council member Keonsi Toombs said they don't want to go back to the times where Metro Police was stopping 7.7 times the national average for traffic stops and stopping more black drivers, according to the 2016 Driving While Black report from Gideon's Army and other Nashville community organizers. But they say that all vacancies within the Metro Police Department's traffic division should be filled. There's about 6 or 7 to go. They also asked that NDOT do a better job to improve traffic calming measures. President Trump threatening taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the U.S. and various other participating countries unless Vladimir Putin doesn't make a deal soon to end the war on Ukraine. And China's responding to Trump's threat of tariffs. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning saying China has always believed that there are no winners in trade wars and tariff wars, and China has always firmly safeguarded its national interests. Trump is threatening to impose a 25% tariff on Chinese exports to the United States starting in February. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 11:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, betterwater.com. Get yourself a water filter. We were discussing illegal immigration a moment ago, but then during Ken's newscast, he broke in active shooter situation at Antioch High School. This is WKRN reporting 2 students were shot by another student at Antioch High School. The shooting happened inside the school on Pinhook Road around 11 a.m. According to Metro Police, the situation at the school is contained. A student shot 2 students before shooting themselves. And I was on X. I did a search to see, is anybody posting about this? Is there video? What's going on? And I did find the pastor of Tabernacle of the Congregation and director of New Beginning International Ministry, Inc., Brandon Williams. He posted about 7 minutes ago, active shooter at Antioch High School. The shooter shot himself in the head right in front of my daughter. Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. Hopefully this situation is contained, and hopefully the 2 students that were shot by the shooter will recover. We'll give you updates as they become available all day here on WTN. I know Ken Weaver is working in the newsroom and tracking down the leads and contacting police and doing all the things that get done behind
Apparently,
the scenes.
the shooter was a student.
The shooter was a student.
Yeah, according to News 2, quoting police, they say that a student shot 2 students before that student shot themselves.
Yeah, unreal. And it's unknown right now how badly the other students are injured.
Big 10-4.
Okay. Well, let's pray that it's just an injury, and we don't see any more death coming out of this situation. That's the last thing anybody wants. Heartbreaking. Hopefully the 2 students shot survive. We'll keep you updated here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN as more details become available. I did reach out to the pastor, Brandon Williams, who posted that the shooter shot himself in the head in front of his daughter to see if he had any more information. I've yet to receive any word back. But, I mean, obviously ongoing situation, and we'll keep you updated here on WTN as facts become available. It's this stuff. It's never easy to cover and discuss, and then right after it happens, there's a void of information, and a lot of trying to gather facts to figure out what happened, how it happened, why. We'll continue to cover this as we continue. We earlier in the day we were talking about the bishop that dressed down Donald Trump in front of a congregation, the woke bishop who went at Donald Trump, Melania, J.D. Vance, and Usha with this sermon at the National Prayer Service yesterday. And the sermon was just as woke could be. And let me give you a taste of the sermon real quick.
And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
I would point out that's a direct result of their parents, if they feel fearful. I mentioned earlier when we played this, there was a CNN panel in the lead up to the election about transgender rights, and they had a young child on there, couldn't have been more than 7 years old, who said, I'm fearful that I'm going to get murdered by what one would assume would be a Trump supporter. And it blows my mind that this narrative is out there. Nobody wants to murder kids. Like, it's quite the opposite. Conservatives don't want to see anything bad happen to these kids. And we think that forcing these medical treatments on them is detrimental to their well-being. And it's going to set them up for a lifetime of just pain and torment. And they're being coaxed into these ideas by these warped ideological parents. And it's insane. It's not Trump's fault. But this pastor tried to, this bishop tried to make it Trump's fault.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
You know, you had a collective eye roll from Trump and Usha and Melania and JD. JD even did the VP debate meme. He's like, "Are you kidding me? What? Are you kidding?" Listen, I would argue if you're illegally in this country, by definition, you are a criminal. Just plain and simple. Like, yeah. So some of these illegal aliens may not be doing any harm to the community. You know, you may be working a night shift at the hospital. By definition, you're a criminal if you're in this country illegally. So this happened yesterday morning. I believe it was the inauguration committee that set this up. Shout out to Amy Klobuchar, who feels like she got one over on Trump. But this continues today. The View saw this, and The View was like, wow, that's so inspirational. We need to get this woke bishop on our show. And so they did just that. Yeah, the View invited this crazy woman on their TV show today. Because of course they would. Why wouldn't they? So Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg and all of these crazy ladies on The View, they invited the woke bishop on, obviously, because why wouldn't they? Oh, you don't like Trump? We don't like Trump either. You should come on our show.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah. But I think if you read what I said, and I mean, how could it not be politicized, right? We're in a hyper political climate. One of the things I caution about is the culture of contempt in which we live that immediately rushes to the worst possible interpretations of what people are saying and to put them in categories such as the ones you've just described. That's part of the air we breathe now. And I was trying to speak a truth that I felt needed to be said, but to do it in as respectful and kind a way as I could. And also to bring other voices into the conversation, which voices that had not been heard in the public space for some time.
I feel like these voices have been heard in the public space for the last 4 years, overwhelmingly, just ad nauseum. But they asked her, Trump accusing her of politicizing the sermon. Trump is obviously evil. And it's like, oh, yes, of course. I was speaking truth to power.
And Bishop, given that we live in such a divided time, as you've reflected on, and knowing how this message might be received by Trump supporters, I wonder if your words may have had more impact if they were shared one-on-one with the president. And was there an opportunity to have that conversation? No, there was no opportunity to have that conversation because I doubt she would pass the Secret Service vetting to have a one-on-one conversation with the president. This is the same woman who, during the Summer of Love, Black Lives Matter 2020, she was saying, we need to replace President Trump. But she's doing this woke sermon, and she's worried about poor people and, the disparity between rich and poor. And property records show that she lives in a $2 million colonial mansion with 6 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms in a leafy D.C. neighborhood. This is who's lecturing President Trump. Let's go to Dave in the borough, my neighbor. What's up, Dave?
What's up, man?
How we doing?
Good, you?
Good, man. What do you think?
Who do you think got fired for letting her on?
I don't think. I think my personal thought is that I think this had to do with Amy Klobuchar, who is the Democrat in charge of the inauguration committee, and I think that this was just a slight jab. Let's get one over on Trump and get him in there before he knows what's going to happen.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't think anybody can get fired for it, but they should. And I don't know why anybody would attend this church. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yep. But hey, this is what we got in 2024. It's emotional manipulation, and that's what they try to do to the president. I appreciate the call. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When we return, we'll be checking with Chad Benson to see what's coming up on the show. Also, just to retouch on this, there was an active shooter situation at Antioch High School. Ken Weaver is going to have the latest updates in his newscast, and we'll be updating you all day long here on WTN. As information becomes available. As of right now, we know that 2 students were shot by another student at Antioch High School this morning. As of right now, we only know that the 2 students were injured and that the shooter took his own life. We will be fishing for updates. We'll be contacting police, and we'll bring you those updates as soon as we have them. It's 11:49 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chad Benson in studio with me. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Got to filter that water. BetterWater.com.
That's right. Filter it, baby.
Do you know? Well, you know what happens to the water when you don't filter it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Better
the friggin' frogs gay.
BetterWater.com.
Gay frogs.
You've seen that, right?
Oh, my God. Let me tell you something. I ever tell you the story about him at the convention?
Which one? What convention?
So we were at the 16, the Trump's first.
Okay.
I'm there, and I'm sitting there, and oddly enough, Meghan McCain's next. Her booth was next to me. This is when she was pretending to do radio, and we're sitting there, we're talking and stuff. And in the corner, around the corner, there's this huge crowd because everywhere he went, man, you went outside, he had planes flying over.
Yeah.
Alex Jones, it was everywhere. He's arguing, and he's got like 10 different minions with him, all shooting different camera angles. He's getting ready to. It looks like to throw down, and he's arguing with Triumph the Insult Dog. I mean, it's a full-blown screaming and yelling match in the middle. I'm like, this is the most surreal thing I've ever. This is where we have jumped the shark, people.
I love it. I love everything about that.
He is, you know what? He was always nice. I've met him on several occasions. He was always nice to me. Do I think some of his stuff is wacky? Of course it is. It's entertainment. Some of the stuff he got right. You know what? But he is... he's an entertainer.
Yeah.
And no doubt about that.
I was first exposed to Alex Jones in the alternative education room at my high school.
Where the gay frogs are, guys, the gay frogs.
We only dissected the gay frogs.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
I used to hop on InfoWars all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But you took some of it for entertainment. Some of it may have had a ring of truth. Some of it may ended up being truthful. But it was just entertainment, right? Like some of these people cross the line into wackadooness.
Yes.
We could all admit that.
He's an entertainer first.
Oh, yeah. And we found that out when we went to court.
Yeah, honestly.
His wife's like, he didn't believe any of this.
Jeez. It's wild.
So, yeah, but he is an entertainer, and he's a hell of a marketer.
Yep.
I mean, God, and they're in the court. They're talking about he's making $1 million a week selling vitamins.
Vitality supplements.
That's right.
What is it? The silver eye?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you'll never worry about a werewolf.
Do you ever see the guy that drank too much of that silver and like turned himself blue? Like he went full Smurf.
Have you seen that lady who's gone full Smurf too?
You're not supposed to go full Smurf.
No, that's awesome.
But
never.
Yeah, people do.
They do, but it's just the whole thing about him is interesting, and it's a perfect example of where we are in this world, how we've got all this crazy media. It's everywhere. It's fragmented. Everybody's just trying to grab their piece.
Yeah. I think he was ahead of the curve on a lot of that internet culture.
Oh, he absolutely was ahead of the curve. Because 2016, there was no such thing as influencers. There's none of this stuff. Him out there and him doing what he was doing was so much further ahead of anybody else that there were a few other people that they weren't monetizing the internet yet, but they were on it, but it had nothing to do with politics or anything like that. They were just living their lives.
Yeah, it was the influencer culture. You can kind of trace it back to Alex Jones, Kim Kardashian, and Tim Pool.
Yeah. Oh, Kim was the queen of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she took a horrible. Let's be real. She took a bad situation, and she said, and it was her mom who said, "Let's make the best out of this, and let's make you guys rich." And boy, did they!
I can't believe that story. The fact that her mom shopped the sex tape just sounds so awful and grotesque. I can't. I'm not in on any of that stuff.
Look at them and look at what they've done. I always tell everybody the Kardashians, like, they're brilliant. They're brilliant marketers, know exactly what they're doing. And they're stupid. They're idiotic. No, they're brilliant, and they're billionaires for a reason. And I wouldn't want to live their life. I'll tell you what, man, 24/7, 365, your life is on camera. Everything's being looked at.
I don't think people understand just the level of celebrity that some people hit. It's like you're imprisoned by it.
Absolutely.
You can no longer go to Walmart and buy underwear.
Do
you know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds like so simple and so basic, but like they would dream to be able to walk in there and buy
to have a normal life.
White T-shirts.
Just for a day. That's why those shows where they switch, where she's the poor girl and she looks just like the princess and they flip-flop because she wants to go to high school and live a normal life. And the other one is curious, but it is a horrible kind of aquarium fishbowl thing that you're stuck in it.
Fame to the point of imprisonment.
Yeah, that's no fun.
No, nobody wants that.
No, you want to be just famous enough that people kind of think and recognize you, and you make a great living.
That's it. That's it. What do you got coming up on the show today?
We're going to talk AI. That's always going to be fun. We'll talk.
Did you hear about the mRNA cancer vaccine?
I did. I was listening to you. I was like, oh, here goes Chris. This is going to be good. I know. I was like, Chris is going to. I told my wife, I said, Chris is totally going to hate this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
I don't like it one bit. Are you a fan?
I am a fan of what they're doing, and by the way, the healthcare side of it is such a small thing.
Listen, but the last mRNA jab worked out well for everybody,
Well,
right?
the last mRNA, everybody, they have their own opinions on this. You give 300 million people aspirin, people are going to get sick from it. But I will say this: they pitched they pitched the last thing completely wrong. It was never a vaccine. It was like a flu shot. It's the way it should have been pitched, and that's where they went wrong. But I will tell you, that whole AI thing, it's a small thing, the healthcare side of it. It sounds good to the public, but what they're going to do on the back end is the thing that matters.
I just hated how he goes, we're going to revolutionize everything. Doctors are going to know why you're at the office now.
Well, they should know.
What?
They should know why they're at the office.
But you look at the hacking that goes on. Like, oh, great. So now our nurses really aren't going to be able to do anything.
Well, that's on our nurses and our teaching culture. We should, we don't teach cursive either. We should teach cursive, by the way.
It's the only thing the computers can't read.
That's right. But nobody else can either if you do it wrong.
Fair enough. You know that they're actually looking for people to decipher cursive.
Isn't that crazy?
For the government.
That is so crazy.
My grandmother would have raked in millions.
Millions.
It's 12:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.